Hello, and welcome back to the Computer Dungeon. This is the third in our AOID series, the Always On Information Display. And this is Putty. This is what you're looking at right here is Putty. It's basically a tool for connecting to remote machines like a Raspberry Pi. And in the last episode you heard me talking about needing an IP address or a local IP address to put in right here so that you can connect. And so once you have the IP address, you hit port 22, you select SSH, you can even save your sessions so that you don't have to remember all this. You hit open and then it goes there. But it actually turns out finding this local IP address, if you don't know it specifically, is kind of a bit of a chore. So if you don't have Putty, just go to your favorite search engine and type in Putty and search, and it'll take you to the same link that's down in the description. It shouldn't be too difficult to find Putty, but the one thing that you do need to know is that it is an executable. This means that it won't install on your operating system, it'll just run when you click on it, which might require you to have administrator privileges on the computer that you're using. Now there are quite a few different ways to get the local IP address of something. Let's say you have the case where you can get the Raspberry Pi to boot up, you can see the activity light, but you don't have a spare keyboard and it won't recognize the monitor or be recognized by the monitor. Well, if you have control of your local router, you can get there, and usually you just go to the address page or something, you type in something like this, or another one is that right there, and then sometimes there's that one, but it all depends on what kind of router you have. It'll take you to a screen, it'll ask you to log in, and inside there are all the things that control your router, and basically you can find out what the local IP address is on all the devices on your local net, including your wireless if you have a wireless router. So that's one way of finding it. Let's say you don't have access or you're not the admin for your local router. There's still a couple of other tricks. Go to Start and type in CMD, and should give you a DOS prompt. It's different for older versions of Windows like XP. You've got to type run and then hit something else. But this is a DOS prompt. In DOS, on Windows, you can type that, and you might be able to get an idea of your local subnet. For security reasons, I'm not going to hit enter, but it'll print some stuff out. It might not print your device out in that table, but it will give you the local address of the router and possibly the DHCP host and things like that. I've had a case where literally I found out that this 10001 was the local router, so I just kept trying different numbers, hitting 2, hitting open, hitting 3, hitting open, closing it, hitting 4, and then hit open, and then it finally connected. And you'll know that it's trying to connect when you get a prompt like this. Now, there's a couple of things to explain about this. Once you hit yes, it'll be saved in your registry, this fingerprint, and you won't be able to undo that unless you go into regedit and delete the entry. But you can look at it, write it down, maybe print screen it, and hit no, and then log in, obviously Pi, and the default password is Raspberry. And then once you're in, there's a command you can run to verify the fingerprint that you just saw. And basically it looks like that. What you're going to do is you're going to run that. Now, it's highly unlikely that you're going to have any kind of attack on your local home network. if the numbers are not the same, that means that there might be a man-in-the-middle attack happening, or you're not connected to the right device, or something like that. But basically, it's as things go on, you're probably going to want to do this check a lot more in the future. But for right now, especially on your home network, first time hooking up Raspberry Pi, you're going to get the same number. Alright, since we now actually have control over Raspberry Pi, the first thing that we're going to want to do is change the password so that nobody else can log in. So that's going to be right there, and it lets you type in Raspberry. And then it'll ask you to type in the same password twice. And there. Bang. Obviously, I've already set my password, so I didn't type in a new password. Let's just cancel out of that. Okay, cool. Next thing that we have is there's some settings that need to be fixed. They're kind of finicky. If you haven't expanded the file system to take advantage of your entire SD card, that's where you do it right there. You can change the default user from Pi to something else if you want to, and then here in the internationalization options, these are pretty key. You need to set your locale, and the reason you need to set this is if you put a special character in your password, because the British and the US keyboards are, well, they have certain things in different places, and if you put certain characters in your password, you won't be able to log in. And here's the one. You scroll down in here and you find there, English. You see there's ENGB, so it's English Great Britain, the UTF-8, and you change it to the one down here, and you can use the space key to select or unselect. Yeah, obviously, because I didn't change it. Another one to do is to set time zone. If you're going to put timestamps on anything, you should probably have your time zone set correct. And in here, yeah, it's pretty obvious how to set the time zone. Now let's say you have the weird case where your monitor is not being recognized by the Raspberry Pi or something like that. This file right here, the boot config.txt, you use sudo nano into it, and there's some options in here that you can fiddle with in order to get your monitor to work. But this one right here, this HDMI force hot plug equals 1, this will force your Raspberry Pi to output digital signal through your HDMI output on your Raspberry Pi. There's also this one right here, but it seems to edit or modify the resolution of the output. So once you're done with that, you can hit Control output, save. It's not Control S in Nano, it's Control O. Excuse me, and then Control X to exit. In the next episode, we're going to be going over how to get this Raspberry Pi to connect to a Wi-Fi router. Obviously, you're putting a monitor on a wall. You don't want to have to run a wire all the way over to your router in order to connect to it. You want to be able to connect to it over your Wi-Fi. You know, wires hanging out of pictures on the wall is not really the most optimal situation. But before we do that, the last step would be to update and upgrade. Better do this before we move on, or otherwise, I guess, I don't know, Santa Claus won't come or something. And generally, I don't put in the little automatic Y thing that you can put right here, because I like to know how much disk space the upgrade is going to use. But you can type it out, use sudo apt-get update, and then a double ampersand, and then sudo apt-get upgrade. It'll run through it. Now, I like to hit this and walk away from the keyboard, but you can also do that, walk away, and it'll go through the whole thing. Alright, so that's the end of this one. Next one, again, we're going to be going over how to hook up your Wi-Fi. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, Please subscribe. All the links down below are the subscriptions and greater detail on what you're doing. And thanks for watching.